What if paying yourself a consistent salary was the key to ending the cash flow chaos in your firm? Welcome to the Lawyer Millionaire Podcast. I'm your host, Darren Wurz. Does your income fluctuate wildly depending on when cases settle or when clients pay? You're not alone. Irregular cash flow is one of the biggest stressors for law firm owners, leading to sleepless nights, tough conversations at home, and reactive business decisions. The good news is you can stabilize your personal finances with one simple habit. And we're going to talk about that today, paying yourself consistently. And we have a special guest joining me today on this great conversation, and that is Charley Mann. He's the founder of Law Firm Alchemy and a coach to law firm owners nationwide. All right, we're here with Charley Mann, the man. All right, welcome to the show, Charley.
Oh, we're starting off hot with a last name pun. My goodness, Darren.
Absolutely. Why not? So,
Absolutely.
I've been watching your content on LinkedIn for some time, and we finally had a chance to connect, which is really, really great. You work with law firm owners as a coach, helping them with their businesses. We're on mostly the financial planning side, helping them grow the wealth outside of the business as well. And lately we're doing a series on cash flow, and cash is king, as they say.
Oh, baby.
But so many law firm owners do struggle so much with cash flow. Can you tell us a little bit about what you see and what your experience has been with that?
Yeah, it's actually really interesting. I was just writing about some of this recently for a membership newsletter, and the discussion I was having via print was that when people manage their money, when they start looking at their money, there's a big question that they often will end up asking, which is, where did all the money go? Right. And it's this oftentimes a misunderstanding of things like timing of the difference. Like you and I could speak about the difference of cash-based versus accrual accounting and how that can be helpful in different types of practice areas. It's the weird cash flow issues that you experience in a PI firm where you bring in the work today, you don't realize the money for it later, but you still have to pay for the staff to get the result taken care of today. It could be criminal defense firms where they bring in the money up front, but the case may take a while and they don't really realize, oh, I'm actually bleeding cash little by little. Like my hourly value on this case goes down because I am constantly trying to extend it. And the criminal defense attorney may say, oh yeah, we're pushing it out because it's good for the negotiation for the client. And that is not always the case. So there's a lot of things that happen in law firms where this, essentially what it is an erosion of the hourly value. And they don't realize they're eroding that and that they are creating a future cash flow deficit because they're spending to take care of the work right now, without it being, in a business where you have monthly recurring revenue and you can kind of moderate and figure out your expenses. You can create a proper budget. Like for law firms, when you're budgeting, you do have to walk a little bit out on a limb, right? And make some smart hypotheses. I don't know if that's the plural of hypothesis, but let's just go with it, Darren. And make those assumptions and take historical data and project and do so confidently. I'm curious, does that vibe with what you see?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Cash flow is one of those things. As a financial person, I see, a hesitation to, collect on accounts that are outstanding or, we're extending, like you said. And the problem with that is there's a cost of capital and your money is out there, you're lending, but you're not getting paid. Right? There's a time value that money has. And the longer times it's out there, the more you're extending and you're not getting the benefit yourself, where you could be reinvesting that back into your firm and seeing that. The other thing that we're talking a lot about in this series is the lumpiness of cash flow and the irregularity of it. And how do we fix that problem? One of the things that we really advocate for is paying yourself a consistent salary. Do you agree with that? What do you see as a best practice?
What I like is the word consistent in there. And consistent could be consistent salary. Maybe you're, trying to be aggressive with your S corp, right? And so your salary is not huge, which means we still need to look at having a regular quarterly draw that comes out, because if you aren't taking money out of the practice, then you will end up spending it while sometimes imagining that it's still available for you. And then you get to the end of the year and all of a sudden you realize, oh, I pay my annual SEO contract at the end of every year, and there's a $60,000 bill due on that right now, or maybe a $120,000 bill due on that. And you haven't been paying yourself and you've been investing, and cool, you're doing like all the growth mode stuff. Celebrate that, love that, obviously encourage it up to a point. Because if you get to the end of the year and you go, wow, I did a bunch of modifications on my home this year. We added an extension to the house, or we finally replaced our deck and our master bath. And you were expecting like, oh, it's fine, it'll all come out in the wash at the end of the year. That affects the home front, right? And that creates stress. Like cash flow is, as much as it's a financial tool, it's an emotional tool. And Darren, when I talk about clients about the money thing, whether it's, do you need to set aside a war chest? Should you be tucking away for taxes? Are you going to do the profit first methodology or whatever it might be? Mm-hmm. I see money as enabling proper executive decision-making. If you are stressed about your money, you will not make good decisions. You will be very reactive. Like it hurts when you don't have money, and you can start flailing and make the problem significantly worse.
Oh, yeah. Oh, thank you so much for saying that. You really can. You go into almost like panic mode, and you all of a sudden you're redoing the website at 2 a.m, and that's not what you should be doing, right?
Yeah, truly. It is amazing how money can be such a trigger point for folks. And when you started the law firm, the idea was probably you wanted a level of freedom. Now, to achieve freedom almost feels like it's in its most pure form, that it's almost a void, right? Like I can do whatever I want, but it turns out when you start a business, you're just adopting a different version of how you establish freedom. There are still numbers that help you represent what freedom looks like. For many, that number can be, I only work X number of hours a week, or the old entrepreneur saying, I became an entrepreneur so that I could choose which 70 hours a week that I work, right? And the other number of that, because we have two primary resources, that's our time. The other resources are money. And if you're not using money as a measurement of, am I achieving freedom, you will build an incredibly elaborate trap. Talking about cash flow, one of the main cash flow leaps that happens with the clients that I work with is a lot of times they'll come to me and they are the primary attorney in the firm. Even if they have maybe 1 or 2 associates, they're an attorney who carries a caseload. So they're an owner operator, right? It's almost like owning a Subway franchise, right? Subway franchises are sort of famous that you buy yourself a job when you own a Subway franchise. A lot of Subway franchises were set up and like people would pay themselves, $40,000 to $60,000 a year, but at least they were the boss. Yay, whoop-de-doo. And they had all the other overhead because they weren't thinking like an owner does. And as you think like an owner, if you are constantly in the work of your business, you are capping that business's ability to grow. And part of the reason is cash flow is so dependent on your personal output. If we're looking at entrepreneurship and ownership, its most pure format, the scale of the business and your ability to make money from it should not be dictated by your personal output for the product or service that you provide. This is where a lot of craftspeople get stuck. Now, this can be very high profit, right? This can be very high profit. Like, so I'm of the opinion, Darren, that if you've ever made money on something, you can consider yourself a professional at it. So I consider myself a professional leather worker because I've sold leatherworking pieces. I've sold wallets, I've sold desk things, like all this other stuff. But most leather workers, most woodworkers, they never escape the trap of I am paid for my personal output because it's their art as well. And, and for attorneys, being a trial attorney feels like an art. But guess what? You started a law firm. You made this incredible choice to give yourself a unique advantage in life. And that's what owning a business really represents, a unique advantage in life to achieve a level of freedom most will never experience. But when you cap yourself and you say, I'm still going to hold a full caseload, which it's done for like a million different reasons. It's all psychological. It's conversations I have all the time with law firm owners. right? Like it's just, it's tough. They have to unwind some ego things. They have to
Yeah.
unwind a desire to be valued in a specific and very tangible way.
Mhm.
And when they make the leap out of that, now we can really get into the percentages and the cash flow and how are we establishing a real business rather than a trade or like group that pays you very well.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You know, that is what we see all the time. And I want to go back to what you said about how the difficulties with cash flow affect the home front, because that is what we see all the time. And in fact, that's one of the number one reasons, one of the number one problems that clients come to us with when they first come to us is what I see is they're not paying themselves a consistent salary, or maybe they are, but they're still taking draws from the firm at random, or they are putting money back into the business from their personal accounts because the business is running low, and there's just money flying back and forth. And the problem is, if that's the case, you're never going to start building real wealth outside of your law practice, because how can you consistently save when you don't know you might have to send that $10,000 back to the law firm? In fact, this was one of my very first clients. This was the exact problem that he came to me with, and all we did was say, okay, let's figure out how much you're going to pay yourself in a draw every single month, and we did that, and his life changed.
It is
amazing.
It is amazing because that just changes the way that you think about things. If you become part of the overhead, now you have to plan around it and make decisions accordingly. That idea of profit first, decide on what you're going to take home and then build the rest of the business around it. It makes perfect sense. I was writing about this recently. The other issue being on the home front side, timing of certain expenses. So there's this PI firm, and I kind of alluded to it earlier, at the end of the year had about a $60,000 SEO bill, digital marketing services bill that they would pay normally in December, right? Kind of the classic thing. I'm going to prepay for everything for next year. A firm that's doing kind of mid 5 figures, but really looking to, and I had just gotten close to 7 figures. And they were really looking forward to kind of breaking through. That's why they're making this investment. Well, what ended up happening is they paid that bill in December of one year. Then in the following year, based on the way that settlements were happening at the end of the year, timing wise, there was a case that was going to come in January. And so he actually talked to the SEO company. He was like, hey, can I pay this in January?
Yeah.
So now he had technically a full calendar year that didn't have that $60,000 expense on it. So it then felt like the money was coming home in that excess. He gets into the next year, he pays it. Basically, at the end of the day, there was kind of this, what we looked at, $180,000 emotional gap that occurred. That if we had timed that differently, it would have brought that down by like 66%, not just in the what felt like the financial gap, but was the emotion gap. And it's like, do you imagine you tell your spouse at the beginning of the year, hey, we're going to make $250,000 in our household this year, right? And you get to the end of the year and you look at how much you actually made, and it was $150,000. I bet during the rest of the year, you've been spending like you're going to make $250,000.
Yes. Yeah. That's so right.
And then you go, ooh, I overestimated by about 60% on our income. And so we're significantly underwater here.
Yeah.
That's unpleasant.
Yes. I've actually experienced this.
We all have, right? If you're an entrepreneur, you manage to muck this up at some point.
We were doing like quarterly profit distributions, and we have some clients who pay in full at the end of the year for the next year for tax reasons. And it was great. Our Q4 looked amazing. It was like, this is fantastic. And then Q1 sucked. And I was like, what the heck happened? So sometimes you have to, you can average things out. You can look at like rolling 12 months or something, a rolling 3 months, or, you got to spread that out in some kind of mathematical formula to make it make a little bit more sense. Because you get a huge influx of cash and you want to spend it right away. And the same thing happens in our personal lives. You got to be careful with that. Yeah.
And look, when you get that big flux, if you have something that's within a modest percentage amount that you've been looking to do, like let's say you've been looking to bring that ghostwriter on to handle writing your book, or you've just been waiting for an opportunity to hire someone to do some new landing pages for you. And that cash comes in, and it represents 5% of that cash that came in. That may be an appropriate way. The problem is the firm I'm talking about. The other issue is they kept making what I just loosely refer to as 5-figure mistakes, because that tends to be the mistake area in a lot of law firms that catches up with you quickly. It's, oh, you know what? It's $15,000, right? I'm going to go do this. Yeah, that sounds really good. And it feels great at the time. Like, oh, I'm going to buy that big video package for $15,000 and I'm going to have a fancy shoot. And because you've heard about other people are doing video, and you've heard, you went to a conference and
oh boy,
the speaker was really great. Yeah, I mean, right? You have these conversations all the time. I'm sure. Like,
guilty sometimes.
Yeah. Look, I've made the 5-figure mistakes, right? Yeah. No one. I do not hold myself outside of this group. I'm very much within it.
Yeah.
Just a little bit more disciplined now than I used to be, to say the least.
Sure.
And they'll go and spend the $15,000. And the problem is, it's not necessarily that was specifically the wrong spend, or it was a bad faith agreement or anything like that. It was, I paid $15,000 for a video package, but I realized I don't really know why I want to do these videos. I don't know what's going to go into these videos. I'm not sure if video is the perfect medium for my audience even.
Yeah.
But I heard someone say stuff and it sounded really good, and this felt like a quick solve. Yeah. And that becomes the issue. And you can pile up, it's $15,000 here, it's $17,000 there. Then suddenly it's a $40,000, package or website redesign that you weren't even sure that you needed. You just heard from a couple of people who said, oh, your website kind of sucks. And you go, I guess my website sucks. I mean, it's been converting pretty well, but I do have 2 people that I respect telling me that it sucks. So I guess I have to rebuild it. And suddenly you're 5 figures deeper in the hole unnecessarily.
Yeah. So easy to do. And the monthly things get you too. It's like, oh, it's only $500 a month, right? But it's $6,000, or whatever it is.
Yeah. A lot of times. So I had a client who he was doing about $600,000 per year in PI revenue. And he was looking at his expenses. He's like, something just feels weird. And so we started looking at all of his subscriptions, and about half of the software subscriptions that he didn't use. And look, truth be told, I think we only saved him about $400 a month. And we might have cut 6 programs that he had. $400 a month, though, what it represented, going back to the emotional side, to him, it felt like I'm back in the driver's seat. I feel like I have more control over this. I'm not letting decisions run away from me. And I'm no longer making the excuse of, well, it's only $80 a month. It's only $50 a month. Because anytime you look at that excuse, or you kind of go, well, I don't know. I could see myself using that fancy AI tool like a couple months from now. I'm sure I'll be re-engaged in that part of my marketing. I'll totally want it. And the reality is you can just rebuy it. It's okay.
Yeah, like your streaming services, put it on pause and come back later.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let me ask you a controversial question, Charley.
Sweet.
How about if we are experiencing some challenges with profitability? Let's say we have pushback from, we have a client and we're like, you need to start paying yourself a salary, a fixed amount, whether that's salary or draw, a fixed amount every single month. But there's a shortfall in the business, or maybe they're profitable and then there's a shortfall. Should they make changes? Should they adjust? What's your take?
Wow, really good question. So I would lean on, the first thing I would want to see is historical data to see if this is something that occurs regularly and we failed to plan properly for. Like, oh, it turns out early Q3, the back end of the summer is just a difficult point for us, and we really should have planned better and tucked away more in reserves earlier on. But historically, we know that late Q3 actually gets better. So while we may run the operating account thin, we have every statistical reason to believe that it will replenish by early Q4, in which case I try not to be too reactive to it. I would rather us see that this is the right amount, because the truth is that as an owner, yes, you can write a check back into the business. I know no one wants to do that, But if you've been paying yourself a healthy amount and your goal is to grow and pay yourself even healthier amounts in the future, having to dip back in for payroll, everyone has had to do that at some point or another. I mean, you know, minus some lucky few or some who like listen to this information and were really disciplined from the beginning. I think I'll say I have never personally had to dip back in to personal finances in either one of my businesses to pay for payroll. That being said, I opened both my businesses having stocked up on all of this information. And I'm very conservative in how I hold money in the business. And this might be one of the important points here. I have a specific methodology that I am extremely comfortable with that allows me to make strong executive decisions. And I'm also comfortable having money in the business, knowing that I won't specifically spend it. So I know myself really well. I know my money mindset. Now, let's imagine it started to dip in and I couldn't pay myself as much. At some point you do have to realistically say, in my opinion, I need to lower my salary here. I should be able to make it up on profit on the back end. Talk with your tax professionals, talk with your accounting professionals about that. Understand what that change how that change could possibly affect you when you are filing taxes later down the line. But the other thing that you might need to do is just reduce expenses. Like I don't know why it took me that long to kind of come to that point right there, Darren. I feel like we took a long walk around it. But if you are starting to experience, if you're starting to experience a squeeze, and you have been running properly with like solid financials, percentages that make sense for your style of firm and how you run it, and you start feeling squeezed, then you have to look at it and say, okay, where are my percentages becoming overloaded? And where do I now need to save money? Like theoretically, if the revenue is going down, chances are your total client inventory is representative of it going down, which means you probably don't need as many team members on your legal operations side. And there may be someone that needs to go or maybe gets replaced by a part-timer or a virtual assistant. Those are tough decisions to make. And like with everything, you can hear, I always look at the variability. I'm not an absolutist, Darren. Like I don't believe that there's one, I'm not a have hammer solve the problem as a nail. So I'm curious, you deal with this even more than I do in terms of helping lawyers with their finances. Where do you land on that question?
It does depend on the situation. And I think there could be situations in which, it would be okay to dial back your salary a little bit. I would try to avoid at all costs putting money back into the business. If you have, a stockpile, a war chest on the business side, which you should have, if you have a line of credit, I would tap into those. And for two reasons. Number one, you need to value yourself. You are valuable and you are a valuable aspect of your business and you deserve to get paid, right? You are a line item expense and that should be part of it and it should be planned for. The other thing is the squeeze is what motivates us sometimes. And it can be okay to feel a little pressure and a little pain, and the solution to the problem isn't pay myself less. I mean, that might be the short-term fix, but the longer-term solution is we need to become more profitable. We need to make more revenue. We need to be leaner with expenses.
You mentioned the thing that oftentimes, Darren, I don't know why. It's because I don't use it really, is the line of credit. So that's the one deficit that I regularly have in terms of my financial, like mental model is even though with every firm, I encourage all of them to have a line of credit available to them because it's also just good to build that, to have it available, also have a relationship with the bank already, having put that together. But it's not one of those automatic defaults. I actually have a client though, who, for him, debt is like really a no-go. So like line of credit, really not something I believe he has one technically, but there's a philosophical refusal to use it outside of pure apocalyptic measures. So he remains very disciplined on keeping the money in the business and not getting too aggressive with what he draws out, even though he has fairly aggressive goals for what he wants to get over the course of the year. In case of an emergency, He wants his break glass solution to be inside of the practice already, not outside of the practice. I have other clients who are much more comfortable with a line of credit. They manage it well. They don't let it get out of control.
Yeah.
And then there are some who, there was an attorney who I worked with for a while. We just did not see eye to eye on the money side. And here's the wild thing, Darren, is my argument was, I want him to get paid substantially for the work that he's doing.
Yeah.
His argument was, I don't want to get paid substantially right now because I want to get paid more substantially in the future, which was an argument he had been making to himself for a couple of years. And it had not come to fruition. And he was always saying, at one point, I told him, like, I can't hear the phrase, it's just going to be a few more months anymore. Like, I can't deal with that. And we ultimately parted ways as client and coach because there was that kind of philosophical disagreement there.
Well, I'll give you another one to think about. Paying yourself a market wage, what you're really worth, is one of the only ways to really know if your business is truly profitable. And this comes from, I don't know if you've read Greg Crabtree's Simple Numbers, but he talks about
it's on my bookshelf somewhere back here.
Yeah, one of my favorites. He's like, look, if you're paying yourself way under market wage, you don't have a profitable business. You don't know if your business is truly competitive and profitable. So you've got to do that. Yeah. That's one of my favorites.
It's a fantastic book. As a matter of fact, I try and keep a canon of business books. Like, if you're going to ask me in a specific category, this is the recommendation I'm going to give every time. Because I don't like people who get real wishy-washy and they're like, I'm going to just recommend the most recent book that I read. Like, there's true standards. For me, when people talk about accounting, financial processing, and sort of the financial data, the books that I go to first are Simple Numbers 2.0, and Profit First. I'm like, read those. Then you'll have the frameworks that you need to start making better decisions and to understand the ebb and flow and meaning of money within your business.
100%. Yeah. And we're going to be diving into Profit First in more detail on this series a little bit later. So thank you for mentioning that. Charley, we're coming close to the end of our time here, but I have a few last questions for you. I want to throw one at you here. So this is a fun question. We'll do our money myth buster. Okay.
Cool.
So think back over your career, your business, your life. Was there something that you believed about money when you were younger that now that you're older, you kind of see differently?
Yes.
Okay.
A little bit controversial.
Let's see what it is.
And I've never talked about this before in any other place. I am not a huge fan of the primary retirement account options. I for their tax benefits, I'm fine with it. But to me, the mythology that has been sold is that all you have to do is tuck money away in an IRA, traditional or Roth, or a 401k, and you'll be set for life. To me, in terms of velocity of money and how it grows, I feel like I'm loaning that money to large corporations to make money off of me while I wait to enjoy my money when I'm 65. So I am a more active and aggressive investor, and my money works harder for me than people who are tucking their money away into those traditional vehicles. Now, I like money, and I like money's velocity. I don't worship money by any means. I like it as a tool, and I like it as a game in many ways. And so I am more actively invested than your average individual.
Yeah, very interesting. Well, I might disagree with you just a little bit.
That's fine, by all means. And by the way, that's why I mentioned at the end the context of who I am and how I feel about money, because I'm actually quite conservative in the way that I handle it, but it moves a lot faster for me than a traditional vehicle would. But I'm capable of handling that. And if you're not capable of handling that and you would just gamble it all away, don't do my method. Please don't.
Well, I'll insert a caveat there. I mean, I have great respect for the market and what the stock market can do, but at the same time, as someone who is a financial planner who works with law firm owners, I see this all the time. You have a decision to make, right? With extra capital. Do I infuse that extra
Mhm.
capital into the business to get a certain rate of return, or do I put that into the market to get a rate of return? The market's going to give you probably somewhere between 9 to 10% annually over the long term. You might be able to get a far higher return in your business. Now, there is more risk. You got to make sure it's a smart decision. You got to make sure you really know what you're doing. Or like you said, you could be just gambling it away. But we have great respect for that, and that's exactly why we created the model that we have, which is much different than the traditional financial advisory relationship. I mean, most financial advisors really they're trying to get a larger portion of your portfolio so they can manage it. We came up with a flat fee program for law firm owners.
Love that.
So we don't care where your money goes. We just want to help you make the best decision for you.
And by the way, I should say what I don't look to do is I'm not interested in like a Roth IRA putting money into a Vanguard. 6%, 7% every year. I'm a big fan of financial advisors overall, and I appreciate that you have a fixed fee model. It's for me just blindly tucking it away into the Roth IRA, into the traditional IRA. So I do have a traditional IRA for myself, and I do put money away in there. But even within that, I remain an active investor in that, as opposed to just tucking it away into the indexed fund or whatever it might be. And that has worked very well for me historically, but it's not right for everyone because I like the game of it. And if you don't enjoy the game of it, you should have a financial advisor who helps you out. I love financial advisor services for law firm owners who are really busy being practitioners, being owners, and trying to figure out that part of the game. The truth is, Darren, I'm fortunate enough that because I've been mired in a lot of this philosophically and practically for some time, being able to approach my business and how I line up my life and how money moves in a way that works extremely well for me. I was able to get to it earlier in life, and I'm very happy about that. But if I didn't have what I know, absolutely, there's a financial advisor on my team. And I do technically have, by the way, a financial advisor who I work with.
Yeah. Well, I'm a big fan of Vanguard too, so
that's okay. Again, I'm such a everything is and Gisak Alakis, he's a digital marketer who I really respect. He and I are so guilty of giving the answer of it depends.
Yeah.
And because I regularly, by the way, yourself included, when I'm talking with law firm owners and they talk about the huge amount of cash that they may be bringing in, I am recommending people like you that they go talk to, because the money language and the money mentality for law firm owners is very complex, because a lot of them have lived in a space where money moves quite a bit. The money has a different type of velocity. It can get spent very fast. There can be a lot of keeping up with the Joneses that happens.
Yeah.
There's a lot of spending rather than saving and investing that can occur. There are a lot of attorneys who have high income but are cash poor.
Definitely.
And I always tell them, you need someone to help you out. You need someone who's going to help you make decisions. And even better, can you turn those decisions over to them? If you go and hire a professional to do search engine optimization for you and take care of an incredibly valuable tool and asset that you have, because you don't have time to handle it, if you don't have time to properly take care of your money, why wouldn't you get a professional to be making decisions for you?
Yeah. And the question I often ask law firm owners is, wouldn't it be great if you could wake up tomorrow and just say, heck with it, throw your keys on the desk and walk out the door and just be done, because you've got enough passive income coming in from a portfolio of some kind. So for some law firm owners, that is an ideal that they want to aspire to have that sense of confidence that I could just walk away and I would be just fine. And that's what we try to help them get to that point in their lives.
Yep. And most of my family members are people who are invested with Vanguard, right? They have index funds, they have all that stuff. But my money philosophy for me, and I don't believe it's right for everyone. Goodness gracious, it's not right for everyone. As a matter of fact, I know people personally who I would never share with them what I actually do because they would mess with it and turn it into a gambling addiction, essentially. And that's not what I'm doing at all. I don't talk about specifics. But it is absolutely right for me. And that's what people have to find. When it comes to the cash, you really need to know your relationship with money, which all of us have a messy relationship with it. You need to know your deficits. You need to know where you get it wrong. You have to know that you're going to get it wrong at times. And if you bottle it up too tight, that it could explode at some point on you.
Yeah.
Get help. Find people. You need a team of advisors on this. It's like you need your estate planning attorney. You need your financial advisor. Sometimes you need to just pay for a financial planning strategy session. Go and do that.
Yeah. And pay yourself a consistent salary.
Yeah, that's nice too.
Charley, one more question for you here. On the topic of books, I know you've read quite a few books. Is there anything, what are you reading right now? Tell us about that.
Okay, so what I'm reading right now, and I'm looking over at my bookshelf because it'll give me the clue. Oh, right here. Let me actually pull it up right here.
All right.
I don't know. So this, and I've been going through this little by little. It's the 38 letters from J.D. Rockefeller to his son. So this has been, this is really interesting. There was some time ago, someone advised me to, Dan Kennedy advised that you should read shareholder letters from Amazon and Warren Buffett and those other spaces.
Interesting.
So I've really enjoyed reading a lot of those and getting insights. So when I saw that there was this collection of letters, I mean, they're not shareholder letters, they're to his son from J.D. Rockefeller. And some of them are like about dressing well, basically, but others are deep and interesting strategies and yada, yada. So that has been quite a treat. I'm working my way through a reread of American Gods by Neil Gaiman. I always like to have some fiction on my table.
Nice.
And then I'm also parsing back through, and I've got it right over here. It's very well tabbed, so you can tell it'll be a second read, my copy of Unreasonable Hospitality by Will Guidara. And I'm going back through to like lock some of the stories and everything into my brain.
Okay, very, very cool. Well, that's great. And the reason I ask is we have a book club for law firm owners that we run, which is pretty cool. We just read Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell, which is one of my favorites.
That one's right over there. Yeah.
And next up is A Random Walk Down Wall Street by Burton Malkiel. It's a classic on the markets and investing. And I'm super excited to dive into that one because we're going to be talking about all of the misconceptions people have about markets and all of the myths that are out there and really distilling it down for people. So I'm really, really pumped about that.
I am just writing that down real quick.
Yeah,
Random Walk Down Wall Street.
Random Walk Down Wall Street. We'll put that and we'll put Charley's reads in the show notes for you guys so you can check those out. Actually, before we go, why don't you tell our audience a little bit just about your backstory and what you do?
Sure. So, for the past 15 plus years, I have worked on, for, and with law firms, and I absolutely love to do it. And, the fast forward to today version is right now I have two companies that work with law firms. One of them is my coaching company, Law Firm Alchemy, where I work in different capacities with law firm owners on a coaching and consultative capacity, specifically with law firm owners to build their entrepreneurial skill set. And that's just purely rewarding. Been doing that for a long, long time. Love helping them sort out some of the identity issues, some of the entrepreneurship challenges. The other company does email newsletters for law firms. We help law firm owners get their weekly email newsletter out the door consistently and to represent the best possible version of themselves that gets clients, referrals, reviews, etc. for them. And that company is called Red Kraken Creative.
And that is such a great idea because almost every law firm owner I talk with, they don't have an email newsletter. And I'm like, what are you doing?
It's a gold mine. It's an absolute gold mine. They tend to have the list. They've got the emails. They're just not pressing send. And I get it. There's not a lot of time to do it. Yeah. Just like there's not a lot of time for them to go in and always understand what their numbers mean or take care of their investments. We're like, look, we'll take care of it for you so you can go make even bigger decisions and work on bigger projects.
That's right. That's right. All right. Great stuff, Charley. Well, thanks again for joining us. It's been a pleasure.
Pleasure is all mine, Darren. The first time that you and I had an opportunity to speak, I was like, I really like this guy. And immediately after, started bringing up your name in conversations as people talk about money. So I appreciate everything that you're doing for the lawyer community.
Thank you so much.
All right, a huge thanks to Charley Mann for joining us today. Connect with Charley at Law Firm Alchemy or find his newsletter company, Red Kraken Creative. We've linked his sites and socials in the show notes for you. My challenge to you today is this: pick a fixed monthly salary or a scheduled draw and start that this month for yourself and treat it like payroll. Even if you're not running payroll, give yourself that predictable, regular income flowing into your personal accounts. You will thank me for it. Consistent personal income is the bridge from unpredictable firm cash flow to predictable wealth building. When your paycheck is steady, you make clearer decisions, you reduce stress at home, and you're finally able to start investing beyond your practice. And that's exactly what we help law firm owners do every single day. We've put together a simple guide on paying yourself as a law firm owner. You can check that out in the show notes. And if you're not yet in our free book club, you need to be. It's a great way to connect with other ambitious law firm owners and read some great books. And as I mentioned in the show, that next book coming up, that's going to be A Random Walk Down Wall Street by Burton Malkiel. It's a classic, and you owe it to yourself as an investor, as a business person, to learn more about the investing world. It's really going to help you. So I'm super excited to dive in with you, and we'll be talking more about that on the show. But stay tuned for next time. We'll be diving into the next segment in our series on cash flow. All right, friends. Well, who is the Lawyer Millionaire? It's you, my friend. That's right. So go out there and own it and live it. I'm your host, Darren Wurz. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you next time.